All right, I want to look at a couple things when we have equations with rational numbers that we really don't want to deal with. And when I say rational numbers, I'm talking about fractions and decimals. So what I have here first is an equation with variables on both sides, and we have some fractions. Now, I could solve this equation with fractions, but things would get a little bit nasty. So what I can do is I can actually get rid of these fractions by using a scale factor, which means I'm going to pick a number to multiply this by. Now, how do I figure out what number to multiply? Well, the key is to look at my denominators, this 2 and this 3. What I want to do is I want to find my least common multiple, which is I want to find the number that I can divide by both of those. So I want to say what's a number that I can divide by 2 and get a whole number? What's a number that I can divide by 3 and get a whole number? So if I'm starting to look at it, I know 6, because I can do 6 divided by 2, 6 divided by 3, and both of those, 3, sorry, will both give me whole numbers, right? 6 divided by 2 is 3, 6 divided by 3 is 2. I could also do another number, say like 12, right? 12 divided by 2 is going to give me 6, 12 divided by 3 is going to give me 4. Right? Now, what you want to stay away from is saying things like 9, right? Because 9, even though I can divide it by 3, I can't divide it by 2 and get a whole number. It's going to give me a decimal, 4.5, and I don't want to deal with that because remember the whole point is to get rid of my fractions and decimals, so I only have whole numbers. Okay, so now let's go ahead and let's look at that. I'm going to use the first number we came up with, and I'm going to use 6 because we said 6 could be divided by 2 and 3. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this entire equation by 6. So our distributive property is going to come into it. I have to do 6 times 1/2. So I want half of 6, which is going to give me 3x, once an x, always an x. Then I'm going to do 6 times 3. I'm going to keep my plus sign, bring that straight down. 6 times 3 is going to give me 18. There's my equal sign. Now I want 6 times 2/3. If you don't remember how to do that, we're going to do 6 times 2 and then divide it by 3. So 6 times 2 is 12. 12 divided by 3 is going to give me 4. Okay, so that's how I can figure that out real quick. So coming down here, 6 times 2/3 we said was 4x. Once an x, always an x. I'm going to keep that minus sign. And then the very end, 6 times 1 is going to give me 6. Now, look at this. I have a nice, easy equation that has nothing but whole numbers, so life is going to be good for me. Now, what if I said, so if I have decimals instead of fractions, I can still get rid of these numbers, but it's going to be a slightly different process. So, let's take a look at it. What you need to remember for this one, with our fractions we were looking for least common multiples, but what we need to remember on this is what happens when I multiply it by factors of 10. If I have the number 0.2 and I want to move that decimal over one time, I'm going to multiply it times 10 because 0.2 times 10 is going to be 2. So if I want it to move once to the right, I have 1 0. Well, now what if I have a number like 0.67? I want it to be a whole number, so I need it to move 2 times. So I'm going to multiply by a 1 with 2 zeros, or 100, and that's going to get me 67. Okay, same thing if I had let's say 375, and I want that to be a whole number. Well, I need it to move 1, 2, 3 times. So what do you think I'm going to multiply by? 1,000. And that's going to get me 375. Okay, 1, 2, 3 zeros, 1, 2, 3 decimal moves, and I get my whole number. So this is kind of going to be the basis for what you're going to need in order to solve and get rid of what we want to get rid of. Okay, so now let me go ahead. Get that out of the way. And let's go ahead and use that here. Now, what I want to do is say, okay, how many moves do I need to get rid of these decimals? Well, here I would need 1 move, right? Here I would need 2 moves. Don't need anything for the 3x, but here I would need 1 move. So when we're getting rid of our decimals, we want to say what's the most number of moves I'm going to need to clear out everything. Because if I only did 1 move, I wouldn't get rid of this number right here. I'd still have a decimal. So I want to do 2 moves. So what am I going to multiply by to get that 2 moves? Remember, how many zeros do I need? If you said 100, you're on it right there, right? That's what I want to move because that's going to clear out all my decimals. Now that means I have to move every decimal twice. So for the first one, when I do 100 times 0.6, I'm going to have to move it 1 extra time, and that's actually going to give me 60x plus, now I have my 0.25, I already moved it twice, so that's going to be 25. Now 3x, I still have to multiply that by 100, so my decimal point's right there. I have to move it twice, and that's actually going to give me 300x, 3 times 100, that should be easy. And then same thing here at the end, I can't just move it once, I have to move it twice. I have to do the same thing to everything. So that's actually going to give me plus 10. And now here we go, I got a nice equation again with no decimals, no rational numbers, and I've been able to clear that out. So things to remember. What you need to multiply by is based on how many moves you need those decimals to make so that we can have whole numbers.